When talking about substance abuse, I'll often talk about this idea of figuring out who I am and where I'm going. And that's an encouragement that I have for you. You need to figure out who you are and where it is that you're going. There was a time in my life when I was making a series of bad decisions and it was leading me to a dark place. And as I unfolded that in my imagination, where is this life going to lead me? I realized that's not where I want to go, and so I had to make changes. Now, I realize that I'm not the sum total of my past mistakes. That's not who I am. Those are things in my past, but that's not who I am. That doesn't define me. And that's what you need to realize. That's what you need to come to the conclusion of. Same that I had to do. Really figure out who am I and where is it that I want to go. And when you think about substance abuse or the drug and criminal lifestyle, is that who you are? And if that is how you identify yourself, that's fine. Just be intellectually honest and say, for right now, that is who I am. But play that out in your imagination. Try to think of where that lifestyle leads you and ask yourself that tough question. Am I okay with that? Because as I play out in my imagination what this lifestyle is going to be, I realized that that's where it's leading. In my life, I came to the conclusion that, wait a second, that's not where I want to go. And I didn't like the man that I was becoming. And so I had to shift gears and say, that's not who I am and that's not where I'm going. And even now, as I face temptations to go back down that kind of road, I will say to myself, that's not who I am. That's not where I'm going. The beginning of this spring, I got fed up with my backyard. The back acre of my property is grown up weeds, and it's a big clustered mess. So much so that yet last year I wasn't able to get a tractor back there to mow. And so the beginning of this spring, at the spring fall, I decided to take my tractor back there and just kind of chop down all those weeds. I put the tractor deck as high as it would go, and I went out there and I cut down the weeds. And it looked a terrible mess, but it was better. A couple days later, I went back and I went over it again, and it looked better, a little more respectable. Well, a week later, I went back and I cut down that again. And after that third mow, it was starting to look okay. Still some sticks sticking up. Obviously, you don't get everything. But yesterday, I went back for the fourth time, and I was able to put the deck down a little lower, and I was able to cut that field. And yesterday, for the first time, it's really starting to look respectable. Now, I'll tell you, if you go out there, it doesn't look perfect, but it looks a lot better. And I think that's a really good picture of recovery. At the beginning, when you realize that's not who I am and that's not where I'm going, and you realize I have got to make a change. Maybe you're at the point where you realize I've got to slow down. Or maybe you're at the point where you realize I need to stop. That's not who I am and that's not where I want to go. And in order to go here, I need to see myself not as that person trapped in addiction, or not as that person in that drug and criminal lifestyle. I need to see myself as someone in recovery in order to go that different direction. You start to take steps, and it's just like that first cut of the lawn. I've made some steps, but my life is still a tangled mess. My life is still a lot out of control. And let me encourage you in that. It's a process. When you first plug into a recovery community, when you first get involved in any kind of recovery system, 12 steps or faith-based, whatever recovery path you choose, it's going to be tough. And it's not instant gratification. You don't go from darkness and you flip on and then everything's light and everything's fine. It's a process. But every step that you take, just like mowing that lawn, every time I mowed the lawn, it got better. And even after that very first step, you could start to see results. Let me encourage you. if you can take an example from me, I just got fed up with my backyard being a tangled mess. And I decided this was the year that I was going to tackle it. And so early on, I made some steps. Early on, I invested time and energy and hard work into cutting down that field. And every week, I've been faithful to do those steps. I've been faithful to work on that lawn. And I've got a ways to go. But I'm starting to see some success. I'm starting to see some results. Years from now, if I let that grow up, my backyard would be unusable. It'd be a tangled mess. And that's not where I want to go. And so I decided to change direction. But you know what's interesting is if I don't keep up on it, it's going to go right back. And I think that's a good picture of recovery. If you don't keep doing the next right thing, I like how AA and NA talk about the next right thing. If you don't keep doing the next right thing, it's going to go right back. It's something that you have to stay on. I want to encourage you with those words. Would you consider today, just be intellectually honest with yourself. Who are you and where are you going? And if you don't like the person that you've become, the man or the woman that you've become, if you're not certain about that lifestyle and where that leads, and you've got a vision for a brighter future beyond your current pain, a vision for what your life could be like, maybe that's not who you are. Consider, what is it that defines you? Consider who you are. Those past mistakes, that's not who I am. Those are things that I've done. But for me, I would say I'm a child of God. For me, I would say I'm forgiven. For me, I would say I'm a new creation. Those are things that I've done in my past and I can't change it. And I wish that I could. But that's not who I am. Those are things that I've done. But I'm a child of God. I'm forgiven. And I'm working it. And my future looks bright. I hope that's an encouragement to you. God bless.